ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time.
There are moments in life when a dream feels too heavy for one heart to carry. Yet somehow, a quiet young man from the Philippines kept walking with his dream held close, as if it were his only source of strength. His name was Arvin de la Cruz, a soft-spoken boy with a borrowed guitar and a voice that carried more emotion than his age could explain. He grew up in a small neighborhood where the streets were cracked and dusty, where tricycles passed with their engines coughing, and where laughter from children mixed with the smell of food stalls and warm rice. Life was simple, but it was never easy. His mother, Luz, worked at the market from sunrise to sunset. Her hands were rough, her back was tired, yet her smile never faded around Arvin. She was the light of his home, the quiet force that shaped his gentle heart. Music entered Arvin's life before he even understood its power. His late father had loved Elvis Presley. When Arvin was young, he would sit beside the old radio while his father hummed softly, tapping the rhythm on his knee. After his father passed away, those melodies became Arvin's only link to him. Each Elvis song felt like a memory that refused to fade. As the years passed, Arvin's voice grew deeper, fuller, almost unexpectedly rich. He practiced at night on their small balcony, whispering the tunes so neighbors wouldn't complain. He didn't see himself as talented. To him, singing was simply a way to feel less alone. Every weekend, he performed on the sidewalks of Manila. No stage. No spotlight. Just a small crowd passing by, some stopping, others too busy. He placed an old cap in front of him, hoping to earn a few coins to help his mother buy medicine. The guitar he carried had scratches, its strings nearly worn out, but it was the only gift his father left behind. Arvin never imagined fame. He only imagined a better life for the one person who never stopped believing in him. Time has a way of surprising those who never expect much from life. For Arvin, every sunrise felt like a repetition of the last: wake up, help his mother, sing on the streets, sleep, repeat. Yet life was quietly preparing something he could not see. One evening, while performing at a small barangay event, Arvin stood in a corner waiting for his turn. The hall was lit with cheap bulbs, and plastic chairs were arranged unevenly across the floor. People chatted, children ran around, and the scent of home-cooked food filled the air. It felt ordinary, like every other community gathering he had been part of. But what happened that night would begin a path he never imagined taking. When Arvin stepped onto the tiny stage, a relative recorded him using an old phone. The video was shaky, the audio imperfect, but his voice carried a warmth that reached hearts even through the imperfections. Within days, the clip spread among friends, then friends of friends, then strangers who felt something in the young man's sound. People commented that he reminded them of Elvis, not because he imitated the king, but because he sang with sincerity, raw, unpolished, real. Encouragement came from all directions. Some said he should try singing competitions abroad. Others said he belonged on a bigger stage. But to Arvin, such dreams felt too far, too expensive, too unreal. Then came an unexpected opportunity. His relatives in California offered him temporary work. It wasn't glamorous, mostly cleaning and carrying boxes, but it was stable. It was something he could do to support his mother more. With a heavy heart and a hopeful spirit, he accepted. The journey from Manila to America felt like stepping into another world. The airplane window showed endless clouds, and below them, Arvin imagined the life he was leaving behind. His father's guitar was wrapped carefully in his luggage. His mother's blessing was the last thing he carried in his mind. When he arrived in California, everything felt bigger, the buildings, the roads, even the air. But deep inside, he remained the same shy boy with a dream too fragile to speak aloud. Yet fate was patient. One night, while working at a small Filipino community center, someone recognized him from the viral video. They insisted he audition for America's Got Talent, a stage he had only seen on television. He stood outside the audition hall days later, nervous, overwhelmed, and unsure of himself. He carried only a borrowed jacket, a trembling hope, and a faded photo of his late father tucked inside his wallet. It was the beginning of a journey he never believed he was worthy of, but destiny had already chosen his path. The audition hall felt larger than anything Arvin had ever seen. Bright lights poured down from the ceiling like a giant spotlight sent from the sky. The stage floor shined so cleanly that he could see the faint reflection of his trembling feet. Around him, the audience murmured softly, unaware of the quiet boy standing in the middle of the grand arena. Arvin's heart beat louder than the noise of the crowd. He felt the weight of thousands of eyes, the pressure of a dream he never spoke out loud, and the fear of disappointing the memory of his father. His hands felt cold. His throat felt tight. Yet he took one slow breath, grounding himself in the memory of home, his mother's tired smile, the sound of tricycles passing by, the dusty streets where he first learned to sing. The judges sat before him like towering figures, each one studying him with curiosity. To them, he looked like any other shy contestant with a borrowed jacket and uncertainty in his eyes. Nothing about him hinted at the storm waiting inside his voice. Then the music began. The first note he sang drifted into the hall like a soft wave, gentle yet powerful enough to quiet every whisper in the room. It was deep, soulful, and filled with a kind of ache only life could teach. The hall froze. Even the air seemed to pause in respect. Arvin didn't notice the stunned faces. He didn't see the judges leaning forward. He didn't sense the shift in energy. All he felt was the song, each word carrying the warmth of his father's memory, each note rising from years of singing on streets and balconies, each breath carrying stories of sacrifice, love, and longing. His voice traveled across the hall like a river, flowing smoothly, touching every heart in its path. People felt the sincerity behind each tone, the vulnerability hidden within his trembling hands, the courage beneath his gentle presence. As he moved deeper into the performance, something extraordinary happened. A quiet glow formed in the audience, people holding their breaths, eyes glistening, hands slowly lifting to their mouths. The sound carried emotion that went far beyond imitation. It wasn't Elvis they were hearing. It was Arvin, a boy who had lived through struggle yet sang with grace. By the time he reached the high notes, the hall was no longer an audition stage. It was a moment suspended in time, a bridge between his small world and the world he never believed he would reach. And as he held the final note, the silence deepened, not empty, but full. Full of wonder. Full of connection. Full of a rising, unstoppable truth. The boy from the streets of Manila had just captured the heart of America. As the music carried Arvin into the heart of his performance, the stage lights softened around him, creating a golden halo that felt almost unreal. The world outside the song disappeared. All that remained was his voice, rising gently, breaking bravely, and healing softly all at once. In that suspended moment, memories began to surround him like faint shadows. He saw his mother standing at the market stall before sunrise, arranging vegetables with tired hands. He remembered the weight of her struggles, the nights she came home exhausted yet still managed to smile at him. Her love had shaped him more deeply than any melody could. He saw himself as a young boy, sitting beside his father, listening to Elvis on the old radio. The crackling sound, the warmth of his father's voice, the steady tap of a hand on his shoulder, all of it returned as if time had folded in on itself. For a moment, it felt as though his father was standing somewhere on that stage, guiding each note with pride. The audience did not know these memories, yet they felt the emotion behind them. They felt the loneliness of the street corners where Arvin once sang, hoping someone would stop long enough to listen. They felt the weight of the nights he performed in the rain, protecting his guitar with his own body. They felt the quiet courage of a young man who never believed he was special, yet carried a heart full of dreams. As Arvin reached the final section of the song, something inside him shifted. The shy boy who had stepped onto the stage moments earlier began to fade. In his place stood someone transformed, not by fame, not by applause, but by the realization that his voice mattered. He was no longer singing to survive. He was singing to be seen, to be understood, to finally breathe freely. When the last note left his lips, the entire hall erupted. The audience rose as one, their applause thunderous, their cheers overflowing like a tidal wave of emotion. The judges stood too, stunned, moved, and unable to contain their awe. Then, with a single motion that felt like the world slowing down, a judge reached toward the iconic button in front of them. A burst of golden confetti exploded from above, raining down like a celebration of every hardship Arvin had ever endured. The lights turned brilliant. The cheers grew louder. And Arvin stood in the middle of it all, trembling, overwhelmed, tears forming in his eyes. It wasn't just a golden buzzer. It was the moment his entire life changed. When the final echoes of applause faded and the confetti stopped falling, Arvin stood on the stage in silence, overwhelmed by a moment that felt too large for one heart. The golden buzzer had turned him into a symbol, an unexpected star born from the simplest beginnings. But outside the spotlight, his journey was only beginning. Overnight, the world discovered him. Clips of his performance flooded the internet. Strangers shared his story, praising not just his voice but the sincerity behind it. They said he reminded them of the past, of family, of dreams they once lost but suddenly remembered. They called him the Filipino Elvis, a title he never claimed but accepted with humility. Millions watched him. Messages came from countries he had never heard of. People said his voice comforted them, inspired them, healed them. Some wrote that they cried without knowing why. Others said he made them believe in second chances. His story, of poverty, loss, courage, and quiet strength, became a mirror in which people saw their own struggles. But while the world celebrated him, Arvin's thoughts drifted home. He sent a portion of his first earnings to his mother without telling her. He imagined her standing at the market, opening the envelope with confusion turning into tears. He imagined her whispering gratitude to the heavens, proud of the boy she had raised with nothing but faith. As the days passed, Arvin began thinking bigger, not for himself, but for the children he once saw singing on the streets of Manila. He wanted to help them dream bigger. He wanted to give them a chance he almost never took. And slowly, he made plans to build a small music shelter back home, a place where children could learn, sing, feel seen, and feel safe. America welcomed him with open arms. Filipino communities embraced him like family. Yet no matter how bright the lights became, he remained the same gentle soul who once sang on sidewalks with a worn-out guitar and hope in his pocket. In quiet moments, he would stand by the window of his small apartment in California, looking at the city lights stretching far into the night. He would hold the faded photo of his father and feel a warmth that words could not describe. Arvin had made it to the world stage. But the true miracle was not the fame, it was the journey of a boy who learned that dreams do not belong to the rich or the confident. Dreams belong to those who believe, even when life gives them nothing to hold on to. And in that belief, a new legend was born.